Okay, after redoing the fuel system, rebuilding the carburetor, well, most of the carburetor, and fixing the lower end, also replacing the seals on the crankcase, the lower seals, fired the motor up, and it runs, but it only runs on fast, having some trouble with the idle speed. So once you kick it down to idle, it'll cut off. So I have the carburetor taken out again, have the lower bowl off. All our new parts we put on I just took out temporarily because if it's not idling, my thinking is that it's the low speed needle or the idle needle, which is the needle here that looked good. We're not replacing it. Goes in here, and that's how you adjust it to make it lean or rich on your idle settings. And this is the nut that goes in here. I didn't really mess around with this piece as much, looking like there is some gunk in there though that's coming off the needle. So but this is the part of the carburetor here that is responsible for the idle speed, and so I wanted to replace the Welch plug here, spray it all out with some carb cleaner, hit it with some air. And another thing, I guess I didn't even realize this before, but there actually are some washers down here in the low speed needle housing, and we do have some extra parts in that carb kit. They do have another Welch plug too that we'll use, but I wanted to pull this stuff out, just see if we've got it. Okay, so that's the washer there. It just looks like a plastic washer. There is some gunk in there though, so I think I might be on the right track here. And then we have this washer here, and there should be one more, I think. Don't look too good necessarily. Look at that one, it's kind of sheared up there. Okay, so I think we do have, those need to be replaced, but I think we do have those pieces in our carburetor kit. They just look a little bit different here as far as these washers. I think they're the same size. They're just, the original ones were black here, but these are the new ones, so that's what we'll use. We'll replace those. We'll put those in after we clean it out for our two washers, and then we do have one of these plastic washers too that goes on the top. So we will be able to replace all this stuff, and hopefully this is what, and then the Welch plug here is hammered flat. This is our new one here. Let's show you this piece here. This came in that carb kit that we already rebuilt the carburetor with. So it looks like a dome, you know, it's not flattened out, and that's because you tighten it when you flatten it, but this is what the new ones look like. So what I'm gonna do first, and I have this, this is the upper part of the carb, you know, sits like that, but it was all wobbly if I left the bottom on because it has this. And also I didn't want to mess with these brass pieces here because they're more fragile, but I have a little ledge here and ledge here, so I got two 2x4s so that I can set this carburetor right in between them like that, and you can kind of hammer on it to try and get this off, and you won't be ruining these pieces underneath. So I kind of did it that way, and hopefully, so what I'm going to do is with this so that's what we're looking at here, that piece. I just want to punch a hole through it first with this, just a little punch. What that should do is it should just start a little hole that doesn't go through probably, but that will give me something to drill into so the drill bit is not going all over the place. So just going to take this little punch here and just put a little notch. Oh, okay, we went through all the way, which which is, I wasn't expecting it to, but hopefully it didn't damage anything down there. Now, I don't know if we'll be able to get that out fully like that. What I want to do now is, I have a 3/32 drill bit on this drill here, and what I've done is I've tied some electrical tape around it, and I've taken the thickness of this Welch clip here, and it's just a tiny bit thicker, and then once it gets through, that tape should stop the drill bit so it doesn't keep going down and damage the carburetor. At least that's the idea. So I've got a little bit of a hole through, if you can see this, that punch. Put up a little bit of a hole. I know my light isn't perfect here. Okay, so got a little bit of a hole. There we go. That hole there, because we need to get something in there, and that's how we're going to get it out of there. Okay, so just take this drill and just open up this hole a little bit more. Okay, I'm going to back that out, get all that shard away from there. Now I'm just going to take my punch again and see if I can just work this thing up out of there. Possibly even, oh, that's definitely bending my punch, that's for sure. I wonder if we got anything more sturdy we could use. This piece here is maybe more sturdy. We could get this out of here. Ooh, perfect. We popped that Welch clip out. Okay. Now, that's the old one there. Let's just see if we can show you. That is what she looks like down there. And we're going to want to spray that out with some carb cleaner as well. Get some of this gum out. I'm just going to start spraying it. They say not to put metal down it, but I just want to make sure that these holes aren't plugged up here. This isn't a brass housing either, so it's not as bad. You can see the little housing there. Just one more squirt. Okay, now what I want to do is just hit it with some air. Open up those holes. Okay, now we're going to put this high-speed jet portion back together. Okay, so we've got our two washers and our plastic washer that are going to go down the housing here. I don't know the best way to do it. I'll probably just fit them down there with this little punch, just gently. Okay, there's one. And two go first. Okay, get that to seat there. Okay, and then put this plastic washer in there on top of those. That's where that one goes. Okay. Okay, looks pretty good down there. As cleaned out as it's gonna be. Okay, next we're gonna get this new Welch plug in it. So you put it with the dome part facing up into your little slot there. This is like a 5/16 size. So that would just fall out, of course. And then what I'm gonna do is take this. This is a 5/16 punch here. And I'm going to just put the flat part on the top here, and once you punch that in, it should expand and then seal. That's the idea of the Welch plug. Okay, so you want to put it in the middle of the top part of that dome. That. Okay. Now that, let me just hit it once, twice more. Good measure there. But you can see how that's flat now. And that should be completely sealed there now. And ready to be put back on. Very good. Okay, now we're going to put the carburetor back together. We've done that in a previous video, so you can refer to the carburetor rebuild video for putting the carburetor back together, and then we'll be testing it out again to see if this low speed needle adjustment worked out. Okay, so we've got the carburetor back in after we did all the low speed jet work. Now, one last thing that is important is you don't want to tighten this nut here until you get this jet back in, because it will just wind up those washers. So I want to screw the jet all the way in. So when we do our timing, we'll have it seated all the way in, and then we will kind of work from there as far as taking it out a turn and a half, and maybe work with the idle. Okay, so right there, we're all the way in now. Since this is in there and it's kind of in that slot where the washers aren't going to curl up and take up the space in the hole like they would if we tighten this before we had the low speed jet, the idle jet back in. So now that we have this idle jet back in, we can tighten up on those washers and they'll stay in place since we have our needle in. We don't want to make the mistake of tightening it before, because the washers will all curl up and get damaged. Now that should create that tight seal on there that we're looking for. Let's see. Loosen that up a little. I can't turn the... Okay, now I can turn it. That should be seated good. Okay. All right. Okay, we are still working on this low-speed idle jet here. We have it installed. About to fire it up. I've made a black mark on it right here because what we want to do is I have it seated all the way in to the right until it's stopped, and then we want to go 1, so I know it's a full turn, and then a half, which should put that black marker on the bottom. So we want to go 1.5 turns out, and then let's see if we can fix this idle. I've already primed it. Let's just put it into start. All right. messed with the idle. It's idling. Now let me. I'm adjusting it 1/8 turn back in and just listening to it, and it shuts off. All right, let's get it back here.
towards the shift, it will want to shut down, but it will run and idle on the start. Anything after the start, it will want to shut off.